Anansa le Bernice Corcoran bóthar an Curragh is tócha, an Curragh the Curragh Road a héan ó Clúndrachad go dtí Carriga Fúca. Agus tá na meile Clúndrachad, cad é an ennim?
Grán a Gapal.
Na Gapal, sure. So, yeah, I'm on the Curragh Road alongside the bridge over the Foharish with Bernice Corcoran, and we're walking on the Curragh Road. It's like there's trees around, there's a beautiful wood. It's like nature is just so bursting forth, really. And it's also kind of destroyed as well in other parts, it's worth saying. But I'm really taken with the windy road and the fact that it's going through this wood. And I know that Bernice has had an amazing experience in a local supermarket when she met a woman who was going to cut down a tree.
An oak tree, in fact, yeah. Here we are sitting beside a beautiful oak tree, all covered in ferns and moss, even though there's no leaves on it yet, but it's still covered in life. And I met a lady in a supermarket. We were both looking at the last rake for sale, and we just struck up a conversation. And she was telling me what she needed the rake for was to rake the leaves of the oak tree that was making a big mess in her front garden. And she had decided that maybe, in fact, they should cut the oak tree.
So when you heard cut, pressed a button.
When I heard cut, my heart, it was as if somebody stuck a knife in my heart. That's the way it always feels when I see destruction. You might as well stick a knife in my heart and twist it, because that's what it feels like. So she could see the look of shock on my face, but I didn't. I can understand when people have a problem with something and they can think of a solution for it, and it would be the quickest and easiest one. But I also started to tell her about what she would be destroying if she cut down the oak tree. She'd fix the problem with the leaves, all right, but there was so much life living in that tree, and so many birds depended upon it, and different plants, like we're looking at the oak tree here now that has so many ferns going along the branch of it, rooted into the moss. So I started to tell her all about the life of the oak tree and the pleasure that it gave. Any tree would give me when I would wake up in the morning and the birds would be singing in the oak tree or any tree.
And there's 400 creatures and plants on every. It has the greatest amount of life of any tree that grows in our country.
Of course it has.
Yeah.
And I would also include the hawthorn in that. The hawthorn has a huge different species of insects in it. That's why the little birds love the hawthorn trees.
So did she buy a chainsaw as well in the shop?
I think they had the chainsaw. Her husband was at home with the chainsaw. Yes, filling it with petrol. But we just had a conversation about the oak tree, and I told her what she would be missing if she did actually get rid of the oak tree, and what it would mean, the detrimental effect it would have on the wildlife. And she leaned over to me and caught my arm and said, "You know what? I'm not cutting the oak tree."
I know.
And I felt such joy when she told me that. I could have leapt for joy. But so I hope she did. Her husband didn't change her mind when she went home. Please God, that the oak tree is still there. I hope.
It's fantastic, really.
Yeah.
It's like.
Yeah.
The love for this, put to practical use.
So
by a conversation.
It made me think that if I could talk like that to people, if I heard somebody was going to cut a tree, and if I could just have a second to talk to them and tell them what actually they were doing, because they don't realise what they'll be missing when it's gone.
I know.
And if you make people realise that, they can change their minds just like that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
They'll see different. They'll see with new eyes.
I guess that's what politicians do when they knock on your door and they want to get your vote. They can speak to you in a passionate voice about something that they like or something that might interest you, and you say, you know what, I'm going to give you the vote. So that's all you have to do is tell people the facts.
Wow.
And make them
It's
passionate about something. Basically is.
Brilliant.
Basically, it's very simple. So hopefully the Curragh Road and the Curragh Wood will survive for a long time. I'm sure it will. Yeah. It's been here a long time, and
we're just at the start of it here now, really, with the bridge. Like we're just across the bridge of the Fóthraris River.
Yeah.
And it's a fine. I never realised it's such a fine, big river. Like the Fóthraris.
There's a lot of water comes down. It's draining all of the valley here between Clondrohid to Mushra and Glowndav.
And Glowndav, yeah.
Yeah, not Mushra, sorry, Malacanish and Glowndav.
And it empties at
Carrigafuka
as well. So
it joins
there's the river.
The salon at Carrigafuka.
Yeah. So we're following the river indirectly, but we're also taking a faster route over the hill. Yeah.
So we could take a trip along. If it was 20 years ago, I could walk all the way to the top of the hill and walk all the way back down again, but unfortunately I can't anymore.
Yeah.
But we'll just walk a little bit up the road.
Brilliant. Yeah. We're after walking up along the Curragh Road, and I can see the horizon seems to be getting a bit smaller, so maybe there's a gap through here, I don't know. But we're in front of the grotto. Agus ní raibh sé seo ón nuair a bhí Bernice óg, agus bhí si ní raibh sé an san áite ar feagr as nuair a haine sí an eis. Fiadar bheile, thuas an son, bhí an bhaiden bhenthe agus cróing an áirithe, Our Lady of the Woods, pray for us. So, but we have a view of Mushra, whatever about Our Lady. We'll turn our back to Our Lady of the Woods, and we'll have a look straight over at Mushra.
Yeah, we're facing north, therefore. Yeah, so we're on the Curragh Wood is on the north side of the hill. You have Carrigafuka on the south side, so we're on the north side. And we're standing in front of the grotto and we're looking straight across the valley towards Clondrohid village, and in the background is Mushra Moor agus Mushra Beag. Yeah, slightly obliterated with fog and mist on top, because today is a bit misty and wet. And
there's a bit of a drip fog in it.
Mushra. I've always thought it an unusual name, Mushra. It sounds so different to every other name of a mountain.
Like a mushroom from Macroom.
I thought it had something to do with mushrooms once upon a time, but no, it doesn't have anything to do with mushrooms. It's a very, very ancient name to do with the people who colonised this part of South Munster back in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd centuries. But Munster even gets its name from these people. They were the Mua. And Mushra Mountain was their sacred mountain. It's where they were pagans, of course, and an awful lot of rituals at solstice, at equinoxes, at various times were all performed on Mushra. It was sort of the holy mountain for these people. There were standing stones, stone circles. So a very important place. And there was in the 1840s an awful lot of the early and late Bronze Age gold was actually found around Mushra.
Yeah.
in the bogs between Mushra and all around Duhalla, because Mushra would be we're in West Muskerry here.
Yes.
But Duhallow is
Once
to the
you
north
go
of us, over
yes.
the border, and Mushra is in the
And
the
is
land
the
of
well
Duhallow.
is St John's Well significant? That's the
There's actually two wells on
Solstice.
Mushra. There's the St John's one at the bottom, which is the one for the religious worship, and then there's the well on top.
oh
There's a well on top of Mushra. Well, just below the top, on
okay.
the southern side, there is
Wow.
another well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, wells appear on top of mountains and they're at the bottom of mountains, so the water can come out at any
Anyway.
bit. But I think maybe the one on top was for the animals. A lot of wells, some wells can be animal wells, and then other wells can be holy wells.
Ah.
The holy wells are usually the wells that are closest to a religious compound
Centre.
of some sort. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And the water that comes up through a well has been kind of cleaned as it comes up.
Of course it has.
So it's
Yeah.
every well is kind of special. This is what I'm told.
It is.
There's a certain flavour from it. There's a certain
Depending on the rock that it has
That it
to
come
work its way up through. Like there's a chili bait, for example, a chili bait spring. You've heard of Leamington Spa.
yes.
Everybody's heard of Leamington Spa. It's a well-known spa in England. It's chili bait water. It's certain kinds of chemicals that come out of the rock.
Chili.
Chili bait, CHEYLEBATE.
Wow.
There was one in Macroom, and people came from miles around these springs because the water helped clear the skin of scrofulous diseases.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of wells around here were chili bait springs.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a very well known one in Masseytown in Macroom. Yeah, just at the base of Mount Massey. Yeah.
So to be kind of like Mallow has
Mallow has it,
has
yeah.
wells that people used to come to. There's near Blarney as well. There's
That's
famous
right. It is
ones.
interesting because those places, they're volcanic. There were some volcanic eruptions there. This is going back millennia,
Yeah.
before the Ice Age even.
So that of sulphur bats.
There would be all kinds of chemicals in the ground. Volcanic material is always very healthy for skin and all sorts of things. So when the water has to come through that, it takes all the goodness with it. Yeah.
We're surrounded with hazel. I see hazel, lots of hazel.
I think the wood here in the Curragh Wood must have been coppiced quite
Yes.
a lot at one
Yes.
stage.
Yes.
Coppicing hasn't occurred for
No,
a long
because
long time.
I see lovely rods. Like that's what I see mostly.
Yes,
Is lovely rods for making boats.
there you go.
Because, and you know, there's a sense sometimes when you're cutting them, they'll be watching me, and you can see I'm doing something wrong, like.
Oh yes.
And then I have to explain, these woods have always been used like this.
Yeah.
They're used.
It prolonged their life
It prolonged
as well
their life,
of the hazel trees themselves,
Yeah.
because if you didn't coppice a hazel tree, it would only grow to a certain height and it will fall
fall down.
over.
Yeah.
They always do fall over, but when they're coppiced, it just keeps
They
them
keep
growing, and they
pushing
get
it out.
stronger and stronger, and the wood gets straighter and straighter. Those wonderful
as the
rods.
canopy, you see the canopy above. But hazel canopy alone does it itself, because it creates a canopy, and the rods have to grow up to find
Tall
the light.
and straight.
Tall
to
and
find
straight.
the light. Exactly.
That's
So
why
everything
chopping the whole lot down,
In one go.
it'll grow more rods,
Yeah.
but they're not going to be as straight
Straight, yeah.
without the cover of the trees above.
It took expert knowledge how to do it correctly, obviously, yeah.
Well, mostly they leave them to their own devices. You know, you will find the rods.
Yeah.
Like there's loads of really straight rods here.
So it would have been well used, this woodland,
Yes.
if it was coppiced, because in those, you said you would use them for boat building,
yeah.
and I think maybe in basket
For baskets,
making,
yeah,
basket
they were
making,
essential.
and for all kinds, anything at all.
Creels and donkey creels.
Everything that we use, as plastic is used for today, could have been done
with
long
hazel.
ago with hazel or willow.
Yeah.
Similar kind of a wood
Yeah.
in the way it grows.
So it was part of the cycle of humans survival or humans abundance rather than survival. I think it's better to use abundance.
Exactly.
Because it was abundant.
It was.
And is abundant.
Yeah.
Abundant nature. Yeah, so tá mían sa fiochantar na slat agus na cream agus an slí gur bharna daoine gur flúise chu. They could have had an abundant life here, and they used what was here, the sticks for basketry, for creels, for all that kind of thing, which to us seems fairly ancient now. It's still doable. But to what Bernice was telling me about, that you can now, with the smartphone in your hand, you can actually see the map, the first map of this area, which might have been from 1800, sometime in 1800s, right through to the satellite picture of where we're standing right now. So she's going to give me a lesson. She's going to be a teacher.
Well, the maps are Ordnance Survey Ireland maps. You know, the best maps in the world, really, as far as I'm concerned.
Wow.
Yeah, they're ordnance map. It was
Yes.
the army. They commissioned people to do them. So they've put all those maps online for people to look at. So all you have to do is Google Irish Townland Historical Map Viewer, and you will be directed to the site where all these maps are, and they're stacked on top of each other. So you can look at the old one and then flip to a 1925 one, and then flip to the 2013 satellite view of the various spots.
Will you do it?
I would love to do it here now, but because we're on the backside of the Curragh Road, the reception is quite bad.
Okay.
I just tried it there while you were talking.
Okay.
And
it doesn't show.
It's only half doing it.
Okay.
So it's having problems. So we've got
We'll
very
move
bad
up a bit.
we can get better reception once we go to the top of the hill, and I'll be able to show you there.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. So have you enough reception here? Is the reception here better with a bit of shelter here?
So now we're on the top of the hill, and yeah, it looks like I have full reception, so I think it will work.
Where do I go first?
So we want to go online to Irish Townland and Historical Map Viewer. There's the first Ordnance Survey maps of the 1830s, 1840s, and the hand-drawn maps, beautiful hand-drawn maps. And then they layer the maps then. You have the 1925 edition.
Yes.
And then you can layer that again with satellite imagery, which started in the early 1990s. So the first ones are in black and white, so you can look at a satellite image from the early 1990s of the same spot, and then you can the most recent satellite imagery is from 2013 with colour. The first ones were black and white, but now you can get very detailed images from the satellite photographs of the spot you're talking about.
So it's Irish Townland.
Irish Townland Historical Map Viewer. So if I click on that, it will open up
I'm watching that now because
a map viewer.
Okay.
So you're given a map of the country, and then you're given a basically a map of Ireland, a road map of Ireland. And with your two fingers, you just zoom into whatever part of the country where we are now is on top of the Curragh Road, just south of
the N22. No,
just north of the N22 and south of Clondrohead village. Yeah. So we're very close to the new Carrigafuga roundabout. So I'm going to... You kind of have to have an idea in your head about maps. You kind of have to know where you are on the map. So you've got Macroom here, so I'll just zoom into Macroom and go out as far, and there's Clondrohead. I'll zoom into Clondrohead. And there we are, it's Clondrohead. And there's the Curragh Road going down there. So that's just a road map. If we click on this icon here, it'll offer us an option between the 25-inch map and the 6-inch map, the hand-drawn maps and satellite maps.
So if we start with the oldest one.
We start with the oldest one, which is the 6-inch first edition map, hand-drawn map. So if I click on that, and now our map of Clondrohead is an approximately 1840s edition, a 6-inch map. So you've got all the fields, you've got every single field is drawn on this map.
Right. And the townlands are
all the townlands, the boundaries, and the names of the villages, and churches, and historical things. Everything is mapped on it. And look, you'll see where all the old mills were, and all the old buildings that were there long ago. Now, if I click on the last edition, it'll bring us from the middle of the 18th century, back to the middle of the 19th century. So we have the 1925 map. And then you'll be able to see what has changed in 100 years and what is still the same in 100 years. And you can then press on the satellite imagery, and here we have what Clondrohead looked like in 2013.
Wow.
And then you'll be able to see, it's wonderful for finding sites of old churches, old castles, old cemeteries, things that may have been lost, ring forts, rats, all that sort of thing.
Yes.
Because we have lost 3/4, especially of all the archaeological stuff. We've lost about 3/4 of all the ring forts and rats that would have been in the landscape for land clearances to widen fields and all of that.
So can you find where we are right here?
Okay, here we are on the 2013 satellite map of Clondrohead, and where's the river? Is there. So
we
I'll just find the spot where we are now, which is at the top of the hill. The road has come up here, and I think we're here on the bend. This is where we are.
Okay.
So I know there's a Keane somewhere very close to where we are standing now. So I'm going to click on maybe the first edition 1800s map to see if it's marked on that. So I'll change over to that.
Okay.
So right across the road from us, slightly down a bit, is the disused burial ground.
Wow.
So that could have been a site of an old church.
Yes.
Long time ago. A very simple, small stone structure, and which would have been disused at that stage, or been ruined at that stage, back in 1840s. But it was used by people to bury children who weren't allowed to who died before they were baptised.
Yes.
And if you died before you were baptised, you weren't allowed to be buried in a consecrated graveyard. So that's where Keanes came from. People made their own graveyards for their children.
Which is actually a source of great pain to any women that lived through that.
Absolutely, yeah, because there's no monument.
There's nothing.
No monument, and most of them are all overgrown today.
Yeah.
Once the parents would have died, that would have been it. There would have been no more memories of them. So there are, if you looked at a modern day Ordnance Survey map, you'll see the Keane red spots they're like freckles.
Wow.
They're like freckles.
Wow.
Every parish would have a dozen of them.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of children died.
Of course there were.
People
Would have had one family that I'm researching, they had 21 children, but only 7 survived.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to have a big family of, say, 6 or 7 children, you'd need to have at least 20 children for 7 to survive.
Wow.
Which is
yeah.
It's hard to comprehend that.
Yeah.
In today's terms. So that's why the maps are brilliant for looking at that. It's just, they're layered and you can look back through the layers.
Yes.
Just like the landscape itself is layered, things are under the ground. It's like when we were in the bog that day, we were in the bog and we were talking about the bog, and the bog is layered. The bog has this beautiful top to it with some moss and wildflowers and different herbs and things growing in it. But the bog is much more than that surface of a couple of inches. The bog goes down meters down into the ground, and those layers that are underground are as important as the top layer.
And it's the same can be said for history.
Yes.
If you don't know what's underneath,
exactly,
you're ignorant.
Exactly. It's the underneath colours the top.
Yeah.
It gives it, a complexion.
Yes,
You can, and then you can learn to read a surface.
Yes.
Just like a geologist will do, or an archaeologist will do, and you will have clues to what's below in the. That's why history is wonderful. Studying history, and your own local history, especially, and you'll find out what makes you, and your people, or what makes you special, your clan or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Got a meal mahagad. So, take a walk on the Curragh Road. Just take a shul and bohor shaw. Ní hoga sé ráda. And if you figure out the townland map, use that as you go, and you'll be engaging the most modern part of your brain as you walk, a place that's absolutely full of nature and history, and you will keep this road alive as well. Keep this road alive with people on it. Yeah, the Curragh Road. That's the Curragh Road. Not in the road, but on Curragh Road. Sha, bohor on Curragh.